Hello, fellow investors. We have Mornings with Michael, the weekend update. It's Sunday, February 25th. Hope you're enjoying a great weekend wherever you are. And we'll take a look at what happened last week. We'll take a look at where the money was flowing and what we can expect for the week ahead. So let me share a screen first. We'll go to, let's see if we can bring up our heat map. Here's our heat map, how we ended. End of the week, there was some profit taking, it looks like, in tech, Adobe, and Palo Alto Networks, which had really dived on earnings, up a little bit. And healthcare is up. Amazon and the consumer cyclical was up, a little profit taking in NVIDIA, or not NVIDIA, Tesla, and NVIDIA was up slightly. So we got industrials, farm equipment, basic materials, utilities were all up. So that's a look at our heat map. Share the screen. And this is an area where you'll never lose money in a fixed annuity. Beats index investing by about 5%. So we want to show that for you. You can sleep there at night. If you get to a certain age and you cannot recover a big drawdown, this is a great place to be. 85 to 90% of people probably should have some money in an annuity. So that's that. If you have more information, feel free to reach out to us. Share our index screen here. It's just, this is stock that we had an option on for the earnings, beat earnings, and it is up big. Earnings came in at 150% greater than the previous quarter a year ago. And Square was the other one. Square, it did close on the low, but it also beat on forward guidance more for their forward guidance. Their earnings were up 105%, 23 negative earnings surprise. So that is the story there. Let's take a look at our dollar index. Dollar index is pretty much flat, up 2 cents, 0.07%. Silver is bouncing on this news. Gold is bouncing as well, up about 0.5%. Our copper issue in Canada continues to perform well. Looks like, I know it's better to buy in the pullback, but it looks like it's possibly getting, it's at 1658. It did pull back later, so we'll see if it can break out of this level. Be 16.94, 10 cents above the previous high. And Southern Copper is pulling back, down 1.34%. Freeport McMoran is up slightly, 0.75%. Vale, these are all the copper issues, copper mining. Vale is pulling back. BHP in Australia continues to pull back. And finally, Rio. Pull back, try to stay around its 200-day moving average. So we'll take a look at the VIX. First, the 10-year yield. Yield is pulling back here, so this is good for small capitalization stocks, pulled back to its 10-day moving average. We'll have to see this week when the personal consumption expenditure index comes out. That's a favored tool by the Fed. We believe it's going to be up strongly because both the CPI and the PPI, Consumer Price Index, and the Producer Price Indexes were significantly hotter in January as there was an uptick in inflation. So take a look at the 20-year yield. It's pulling back under the 200-day moving average, down 2.7%. It's at 3.36 interest rate. Let's take a look at the VIX. The VIX pulled back 5.43%. Now we'll take a look at this in our PowerPoint presentation in a moment, but it's pulled back. So we got a gap down here. It's possibly it could pull back a little more, and then we got a gap above here. So we'll take a look at those two things. It could pull back to 1301 and then bounce up to 1581. So that's kind of what the forecast looks like. S&P 500. Pretty flat for the day. Equal weight, taking out the big cap techs, up 0.27%. The NASDAQ, slight pullback, 0.29% down. Take a look at the equal weight, down as well, 0.33%. The small caps, up slightly, 0.23% on the pullback in the yield. It looks like they may have filled the gap there. And the Dow Jones was up slightly, 0.19%. So let's take a look at the ETFs. Financials continues to perform well. Energy had a little bit of a pullback. So that UCO that we had put on pulled back pretty strong. We'll just see where this kind of goes. Communications with Meta and Google. Meta's still up around 484. Google pulled back 0.2%. Utilities up slightly, 0.72%. Real estate is up as well. This is a biotech. Looks like they're bouncing. Speaking of biotech, we met a really nice person from this company that just had a IPO over the weekend. We'll just take a quick look at it here. So it debuted at 22 and it's pulled back quite a bit here to 22, and then it opened much higher at 32, went up to 35, and then we got a big pullback here down to 26.99. We'll see if it builds an IPO base, which needs to be 16 to 25 days. So we'll keep a watch on this one. This is an Emeryville-based company. And let's take a look at that. This is XBI. Looks pretty good. Looks like it's on the verge of a breakout. Here's our software. Bounced a little bit, 0.54%. Technology up slightly. Semiconductor pulled back after those big earnings announcement. Infrastructure. Wow, this continues to play a pretty good role moving up. And I'm just going to grab my notepad here. So we got the airlines down 0.8%. Leisure activity, we did put on option on Carnival on the recent action of Royal Caribbean. Got a big gap up there. So we'll see what Carnival does. Industrials, yeah, they look pretty strong, up to 120. It is pretty well extended. 114.50 would have been the breakout point on the industrial ETF. Healthcare sector just continues up stronger. It's far too extended to invest in this ETF. The consumer staples, looks like they recently broke out 74.58. So this is a possibility if this fits in with your investment objectives. Once again, you need to do your own due diligence. This is just information and education. Building supplies, looks 86.40, and possibility you could still invest in this. I'm going to break out metals and mining, um, pulling back, although the volume did get pretty strong on Friday. So it's trying to get above its 10 and 20-day moving averages here. Our home builder, looks like we got a breakout in the home builders. Lennar had a nice move, earnings in 17 days. A little bit of a pullback in DH Horton. And here is the IPO that we had invested in right about 26.50. Continues to perform well. It's a little extended right now. I'd wait for a pullback to invest in this. And that's a look there. And let's take a look at our PowerPoint presentation. So here we got the diamonds. Diamonds, this looks like a spinning top or a shooting star. So we feel like this is going to pull back. Target for next week is 388.67. On to the small caps, IWM. Same kind of figure, shooting star or spinning top. We're looking for a pullback to 197.41. The QQQ, this handle is starting to bend. We've got a little bit of selling up here, so our target on this is 432.10. Look for the target to be 409.53 on a longer term target. And this is the S&P 500. All of these three hit our targets last week. I believe it was on Tuesday or Wednesday. And we're looking for 498.67 on the S&P 500. Talked a little bit about the IWM. This is a bearish harami. Looking for possibly to fill this gap down here at 1301 before bouncing up here, fill this other gap around 1581. So that's a look at those. Let's kind of look at some of the things going into our economy. Ongoing high costs are leading food manufacturers and restaurants to keep prices elevated. We had a pullback and look at this. It's at a 3-decade high right now, going back to 1990. Mortgage applications crashed after rates pushed above 7%. Look at this strong pullback in mortgage applications. Bad property debt exceeds reserves at U.S. banks. Bad real estate loans have overtaken lost reserves at the biggest U.S. banks after a sharp increase of late payments linked to offices, shopping centers, and other properties. So we got a spending boom fueled by big savings is over. This continues at Game of Trades. Household exact savings as a share of GDP have plummeted. Look at this. Quarter 4 2019 to quarter 3 2023. How much would it cost to cancel the student debt? Biden administration has already canceled almost 132 billion in student loan debt. Nearly 7 million borrowers are enrolled in the Saving on Valuable Education Save plan, which will cancel the student debt. Canceling all student loan debt would cost approximately $1.6 trillion. Student loan forgiveness could result in a $2,500 burden per taxpayer. Research finds this is 6 tenets of Dow theory. Market has 3 movements: primary, secondary, and minor trends. Has 3 phases, which consist of accumulation, public participation, and distribution phases. Stock market discounts all news. Market prices already reflect all known information and investor state sentiment. Averages must confirm each other. Both industrial and transportation averages should move in the same direction to validate a trend. Trends are confirmed by volume, and trends exist until definitive signals prove they have ended. So that's a little bit on Dow theory. So market sentiment. Every time since 1944 that a U.S. president was running for re-election, stocks posted gains for the year irrespective of the outcome, according to Morgan Stanley. Now this is the S&P 500 versus strategic forecast. Average strategic target for 2024 is 48.33, although Fundstrat has forecasted 5,200. So that is where we're at. And these are 3 of our most important educational investors. This is Jesse Livermore. His foundational studies, he was a mathematical genius, one of the greatest investors of our time, made $100 million on the stock market crash. And most of the analysis that we have learned have been based on his studies. Nicholas Darvis of the 1950s was a dancer, and he proved he turned $500 into $2 million. This is Nicholas. And then William O'Neill, founder of Investors Business Daily and MarketSmith, which what we base our analysis on. He had a great book called How to Make Money in Stocks. And in fact, there's over 100 charts at the beginning of the book that go back to the 1880s, showing that even over time, charts remain the same and investors remain the same. Here is the quote of the month. When news of consequence hits the street, the U.S. economy, our government, foreign countries, or international events, whether the news is good or bad, that they are analyzing the news' effect on the market. They're less concerned whether the news is good or bad than they are analyzing how the news has an effect on the market. and its trend lines have a stronger impact on the markets than news lines. So that's kind of our spreadsheet there. Now let's go back and take a look what was kind of moving on, where the money was flowing on Friday. So these were all companies. Zscaler is getting a big bounce. There's also a news item about cyber crimes are on the rise. Zscaler was up 4%. CrowdStrike is really the leader in this area. They were up strong the day before, not up as much. They pulled back to their 20-day moving average. MCore, their earnings are in 3 days. Provide mechanical and electrical construction services. The breakout was at $221.94, and it has gone on a big run right now. It is far too extended at the moment. Installed building products, earnings were up 12%, and their stock was up 5%. Trip.com. Wow, look at this, might be an exhaustion gap here. It looks like this is kind of a climax run. RB Global, big move up on earnings increase of 21%. They do auction sites. FTA Aviation, earnings came up at 445% increase, 155% earnings surprise. Stock was up 6.28% on Friday. Comfort Systems continues to be in the news, up 66% on earnings, provides heating, ventilation, and air conditioning. Iron Mountain, 21% records management, data protection for number of banks. Sprouts Farmers Market, looks like they beat views. Their earnings were up 17%, gap up, and a strong close. And finally, Collegium Pharmaceutical, generic and branded drugs. Earnings were up 45% of almost a 15% earnings surprise. Their stock was up 10%. Companies up 5% with 100% increase in volume. There's 31 items. We're not going to go through them all. Just look at some companies that continue to be on the list. Betterware kind of sold off on disappointing earnings, although it was up 339%. Kind of pulled back again here, and now earnings came up 87%, 95% earnings surprise, and looks like they're getting ready to break out. Need to get to 1550 for the breakout. We got Avis. Big sell-off here, so I would kind of ignore this. A lot of these companies had big pullbacks. Carvana, big breakout. Earnings were went from $7.61 loss to $1 loss, and they are cheering that. Dominion Energy trying to move up 4.96 on a 64% earning decrease. And here's our Dosey-Bo, up over 16%, 524 volume increase on earnings up 150%, 108% earnings surprise. And then finally, we'll go up to what's up 10% on 200% increase in volume. We look at Carvana, Evolent Health. Earnings are up 92%, got a big move and closed on the high. RB Global up 12% for the day. Earnings increased 21%. Root offers app-based automobile insurance. Looks like they're breaking out here. Previous high was 1460. Big gap up on the day of the earnings, and it continues up on the breakout, up 28%. There was Sprouts Farmers Market. Here's Square, we looked at earlier, and Universal Insurance. Earnings came in negative 17%, but it was almost a 200% earnings surprise, up 22% for the day. And that is our show for the weekend. We hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you again tomorrow. Good mornings for Michael, brought to you for information and educational purposes only. It is your responsibility to do your own due diligence and see if these investments make sense to you. Have a great day.